So you're buying or selling a home and you've opened escrow. Now what? In this video, I'm going to give a general overview of the escrow process from open to close. My name's Tony Butita. I'm a local realtor here in Palos Verdes in the South Bay. This channel is about all things real estate and living in Palos Verdes in the South Bay. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to know about new videos as they come out, hit the notification bell. So you're wondering what happens once you've opened escrow. If you're thinking of buying or selling something soon, be sure to check out my videos buying a home in 2024 and selling a home in 2024. Those videos cover the period of time before getting into escrow. One caveat as well, I cover Palos Verdes, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, Torrance, and the surrounding cities. So I might refer to local market conditions. And while I'm sure this process is pretty similar across the country, make sure to check in with your local professional to see what's different about your area and your market. So as a buyer, when you submit your offer to the seller, it's going to include the price you're offering, the terms, and how you're going to pay for the home. Now the price, that's pretty straightforward. That's the price you're offering for the home. How you're going to pay will typically be all cash, maybe all loan, but more likely a mixture of the two. Remember, if you're taking out a loan, you'll need to submit an approval letter from the lender you're working with your offer. Now the terms can be a wide variety of things. In this video, I'm just going to cover the most basic terms, which would be your contingency periods. The three most basic contingencies will be your inspection contingency, also known as your investigation contingency, your loan contingency, and your appraisal contingency. So wait, what's a contingency period? When a buyer makes an offer on a house and a seller accepts that offer, the purchase is not immediately finalized. There's a period of time in which a whole bunch of stuff is figured out. This period of time is known as being in escrow. Okay, so what's escrow? Escrow is a storehouse for monies, documents, and instructions. Think of escrow as a neutral third party that holds all of these things while the transaction is being worked out. This might not be the best example, but let's say you and I bet on a baseball game. The Dodgers are going to play the Yankees. I bet $5 that the Dodgers will win. You bet $5 that the Yankees will win. We each give our $5 to a neutral third party. That party holds on to the $10 until the end of the game, and whoever wins receives that $10 from the neutral third party. In a sense, you could say we're putting our money in escrow or into an escrow account, and then the money is being dispersed properly by the neutral third party. Again, probably not the greatest example, but hopefully that makes some sense. For what it's worth, the Dodgers won that game. So when a seller accepts an offer from a buyer, escrow is opened. The typical escrow length is roughly 30 days. This will be outlined in the offer written by the buyer. However, in a competitive market like we have here, the escrow time period might be much shorter. Remember, none of this is written in stone. The length of the escrow and the length of the contingency periods will be agreed upon by the buyer and seller before getting to an accepted offer. The contingency period will happen at the beginning of escrow. The contingency period is a period of time in which the buyer can cancel the purchase without any penalty. So what would the penalty be? If you remove all contingencies and then you decide to cancel the purchase, you could be at risk of losing your deposit. When a buyer writes an offer, they put in how long they'd like the escrow period to be, the contingency periods to be, and how soon they will submit their deposit. In our market, the deposit, also known as the earnest money deposit, will typically be 3% of the purchase price and will be handed over within 3 days of opening escrow. So if you're purchasing a $1 million home, your earnest money deposit would be $30,000. So let's use a pretty simple example where a buyer and seller have agreed upon a 30-day escrow, a 3% earnest money deposit that will be handed over within 3 days, a 17-day loan contingency, a 15-day appraisal contingency, and a 10-day inspection contingency. This is what that would look like laid out on a timeline. Notice that the contingency periods run concurrent, not one after the other. So what this means to a buyer is they have a period of time to do more due diligence about the property before committing to buying it. The reason for this is that when you go to an open house or a showing at a home, most likely you're not checking the electrical or the plumbing, you're not going into crawl spaces or attics, you're not getting up on the roof. So there's only so much you can know at the time you submit your offer. For that reason, you'll want to inspect a lot of these things before fully committing to the purchase. So when getting into escrow, you'll want to line up your inspections as soon as possible so you can either proceed with the purchase, back out, or ask the seller for repairs, credits, or a price reduction. In our market here, we typically recommend these 4 inspections: your general inspection, sewer inspection, termite inspection, and a mold inspection. Now, each of these inspections can run a couple $100 up to $1,000 or more, so you want to be prepared to spend some money when you get into escrow. Who you hire is up to you. If you're working with a realtor, make sure to have a discussion with them about that. So in our example, the buyer would have 10 days to complete their inspections and remove the inspection contingency. When writing an offer, be sure to consider how much time you'd like to do your due diligence. For buyers, the longer the time period, the better, so they have time to do all the inspections they want to see if they really want to move forward with the purchase. However, a seller will want much shorter contingency periods because they just want to move along with the sale. That's why these timelines are negotiated as part of the offer writing and acceptance process. In a competitive market like we have here, the shorter you can make your contingency periods in your offer as a buyer, the better it will look to a seller. It's not uncommon for an offer with a lower purchase price to be accepted over an offer with a higher purchase price because there were better terms that were more aggressive and favorable to the seller. That being said, make sure you understand how long you might need to do your due diligence. As you're probably guessing, this period of time can be incredibly stressful and overwhelming, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. There may be a lot of decisions and negotiations which need to happen in a very short time period. Be prepared for this and get as organized as you can. If you're working with a realtor, they should be guiding you through this process step by step. Once the inspections have been completed, it's time for the buyer to either proceed with the sale, back out of the sale, or ask the seller for credits, a price reduction, or for them to do some repairs. This begins a period of negotiation where a buyer and seller either come to an agreement or they don't. If they come to an agreement, then the contingency is removed. If they don't, the purchase is canceled and escrow is terminated. This is known as falling out of escrow. The inspection period is typically the one where the buyer is most involved because they're figuring out whether or not this really is the right property for them. Next, let's talk about the appraisal contingency. During the appraisal contingency period, we'll be trying to figure out whether the home appraises or not. So what does this mean? Let's use an example of buying a $1 million home where you're putting 20% down and borrowing $800,000. Whoever's issuing the loan will have an appraiser go to the house to appraise the home. The reason for this is that the loan is based on the appraised value of the home, not the purchase price. So in this example, let's say the home appraises for $1 million or more, you're probably looking pretty good. However, what if the home only appraises for $975,000? Here's what you might be looking at. So your plan was to pay $200,000 cash and borrow $800,000. However, if the home only appraises for $975,000, remember, the loan is going to be based on that number, not the purchase price. In this case, 80% of $975,000 would be $780,000. So you're $20,000 short, and that's on you as the buyer to come up with the cash to make up the difference. So in this time period, you want to find out if the appraisal is going to be an issue or not, so you can either proceed with the purchase or back out without losing your earnest money deposit. Lastly is the loan contingency period. In this period of time, your lender will be making sure that your approval is fully underwritten for this property and there are no issues with the loan. Once you get confirmation that the loan is 100% good to go, you can remove your loan contingency and continue on with the purchase of this property. So if the home doesn't appraise or there's an issue with your loan, there will be options you can explore before canceling the purchase. You might be able to negotiate a lower purchase price. You might be able to pivot to other lending options. Whatever the case is, be sure to check in with your local professionals you're working with to explore all options. One quick note, the contingency periods are negotiable within escrow. So if you need more time to do further inspections or figure out your loan, you can request this of the seller. Now, whether or not that's granted will be up for negotiation. So at this point, if you've made it through all the contingency periods and you removed all contingencies, you're most likely just smooth sailing towards the close of escrow. In this period of time, you could be doing all sorts of different things like looking for insurance for the home or planning your move, or maybe you're lining up contractors to do repairs or some remodeling before you move in. Also at this time, all involved parties like your title company, your escrow officer, each transaction coordinator, everyone will be making sure that all documents and such are in their correct place and organized accordingly. A few days before close of escrow will be the final walkthrough. This is where the buyer will walk the property to make sure nothing really has changed since the contingencies were removed. Before the close of escrow, the buyer will wire the rest of the cash portion of the purchase into escrow. The escrow officer will then assess the final purchase price of the home, what credits get applied to which parties, and will make sure that all funds are properly dispersed. One important thing to note, when wiring funds, make sure you're in very good communication with your escrow officer. Wiring funds is something that is not handled by your realtor. The realtor really should not be involved with this at all. You should be talking directly to the escrow officer, and it's not even a bad idea to get them on the phone so you make sure you understand the wire instructions properly. Once escrow is closed, the keys will be transferred to the new owner of the home unless part of the terms included something like a seller in possession or some type of lease back, at which point the keys will be transferred at a later date. Hopefully this video was helpful. Remember, this was just a general overview of this time period. Depending on your situation and your market, there could be a lot of different things going on. So just be sure to check in with the applicable professionals to make sure you're in a good spot. If you like this video and you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're thinking of moving to Palos Verdes or the South Bay, or maybe you want to buy or sell something in the area, feel free to send me an email, shoot me a text, give me a call. I'd be happy to help in any way that I can. I hope wherever you are, you're doing great. See you next time.